Okay, Tommy Cassius, at Thomas Cassius, our good friend from Notre Dame. Can Chris Hess fix Anthony Richardson like he did Josh Allen? Some Indianapolis Colts questions. It's about damn time we got that in this mailbag here. So, can you teach accuracy, Ziggy? Can you make someone
I'm not
more?
sure how many of our fans know who Chris Hess is.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Chris Hess. Do you know who Chris Hess is, Paul?
I know, I do. I have an entire spiel here, but if you would like to
go ahead. Give your spiel.
So, Chris Hess, he's a biometrics expert. Now, listen to this. Okay.
Former Kansas State long snapper.
Yes, I've heard the name Chris Hess before because of this Josh Allen thing, but I'm going to read you what I researched on Chris Hess today. I don't want you to make you think that like I don't know this guy's life story, but former long snapper at Kansas State. He founded a company called Biometric, which is a 3D motion analysis of for a company that use technology to track movement of athletes and improve their game. This is how they describe Biometric. So what he does, and it's actually really interesting. His quarterbacks go through 3 different exercises. The first one, markerless 3D motion capture system. It captures how the quarterback's arm, body, and joints work together. They do every throw in the route tree. They do squats, they jump, they lunge. The second exercise measures what the quarterback does from the ground up. You stand on dual force plates to measure the ground forces at work when throwing the football. The third exercise tracks passing velocity. After they're complete, he analyzes all of them, and he gets a full picture of the QB's throwing motion from the ground up, identifying areas that can be improved upon to increase velocity and accuracy. Pretty interesting. Like, it's really interesting that, like, how does someone even get into and develop the technology for this stuff? This is way beyond me. He didn't develop
the technology. Darimotion developed the technology.
Yeah, no. But I mean, even getting into that field and having the right people to do it, and like, it's just very impressive to go through it all. But Josh Allen did this in the spring of 2020. Okay, and he went from 3,100 passing yards to 4,500, 20 touchdowns to 37, and his completion percentage jumped from 52% his rookie year to 69% in that year 3. That 17% jump is the biggest jump in the history of football between 2 years for completion percentage. Now, there's a lot of things that went into this. Stephon Diggs pretty good. That was an addition that the Bills made. Also, I think just being in the league a few seasons. But it's no doubt, it seems like this really helped. And you hear Josh Allen talk about it. He said, Chris Hess, as far as my mechanics go, is one of the most influential people in my career, because Josh was throwing the ball and his body was just tilted forward too much, he was saying. So he's relying on his arm for all the power, not using his hip to rotate into it. So he completely changed how he threw the football. And that seems to have made a ton of difference. It actually helped him. He was having shoulder pain too for 2 seasons, and that reduced because he was able to take the pressure off of his arm. It's really interesting to me. And Anthony Richardson is doing this. And you have to remember, Anthony Richardson, only 13 starts in college and 15 in the NFL. He really hasn't played that much quarterback. So do you think is this something that is on your radar, Ziggy, or are you saying this is the last-ditch effort in what will probably wind up being a failed NFL career?
Here's the thing. I think there's one major discontinuity between Josh Allen and Anthony Richardson you didn't mention. Josh Allen, while there was a huge gap going into year 3, he looked a lot better in year 2 than he did year 1.
Yes.
His completion percentage went up almost 7%. He went from 10 touchdowns and 12 interceptions to 20 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, 2,000 yards to 3,000.
They made the playoffs.
Yeah, and as he said, in 2020, they exploded, right? He played substantially better, and I think this played a role. But Josh Allen, everybody knew he was a hard worker. Everybody knew that he wanted to succeed. He had all the tools, obviously, but he was in that building. He was doing his best, and we'd seen signs that he could be good. It was that next step that was unprecedented. Anthony Richardson, you never know how these things are going to turn out. And I think the biometrics is a nice thing, but I think that's only part of it. If this company could genuinely turn any good athlete into an all-star NFL quarterback, they'd charge $50 million, $100 million a session, because that's what that would be worth.
Well,
that's true, right?
Also,
if you could do that reliably, if you could take like Anthony Richardson and guarantee he's going to be a great quarterback, NFL teams would pay 8 or 9 figures for that. So I think it'll help. It can't hurt. Anthony Richardson can't be any worse. But the thing that worried me about Richardson was that it seemed like everything got worse in year 2. Year 1, the first few games were promising. Year 2, he had so many disastrous games. The leadership, it felt like got worse. The work ethic complaints felt like they got worse. And I worry that Anthony Richardson has been discouraged. He's lost his confidence and he's not getting a whole lot better. Chances are Anthony Richardson's not going to work out. So I think the Colts are doing the right thing. They're trying what they can. And this isn't like, they're not having him do ayahuasca, right? This is a thing that makes sense to have your quarterback do. But I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, that's where I lean as well, in that we could talk about Chris Hess having the success with Josh Allen, but how many other quarterbacks has he helped out where it just didn't translate to the field? Probably a good number. I mean, they didn't even list anyone else in the article that I was reading. I do believe that to a degree, there are guys who are just accurate passers and not accurate passers. I was listening to Troy Aikman saying that he always believed that until he saw Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen might be more of the unicorn than an actual standard for people.
There's only been one guy who's ever done what Josh Allen has done.
Yeah, so I would say I'm hesitant to believe that Richardson can turn it around. With that said, he has had, as I mentioned before, 28 starts between the NFL and college. Like that's not a lot. So if there's someone who could be molded into the next Josh Allen, Anthony Richardson checks all the boxes of the athlete, the arm power, and maybe it is just something that needs to be tweaked. Like, I wouldn't rule it out. I would just say, if you're a Colts fan and you see Anthony Richardson goes to biometric expert who fixed Josh Allen, I wouldn't have in the back of my mind this expectation of, he's going to come out and be a stud this year. He's going to throw for 30 touchdowns. Before people complain
in the comments, I think you and I both said biometric. We know it's biomechanics.
Biomechanics, I'm sorry.
But it's easy. Look, I'm a philosopher. Paul's a producer. We don't talk about that stuff. Anthony Richardson, if they do know biometrics, if Anthony Richardson comes back 7'4", 380, running a 4.1, like, NFL would better watch out if they can do the genetic engineering required. But
hey, dude, if you're building a quarterback in a lab, it's pretty close to what Anthony Richardson looks like. So I hope it works out. He seems like a great dude. The Colts for 2 years now have been right on the verge of being in the playoffs, while also not having a very good team, like a good season. If you looked at the Colts the last 2 years and said, is that a good team? I think you'd be like, they're probably not. They're probably a 5 or 6 win team. But no, they've been on the verge of the playoffs. So if you even have a little jump in Anthony Richardson, this is a team that could compete at least for a wild card spot. So I hope it works out. I'd probably bet against it, but it's worth monitoring.
I will say, if you're a Colts fan looking for hope, here's what you can say. Josh Allen, I know he started more games than Anthony Richardson, but Josh Allen got mediocre to bad coaching, right? He went to JUCO, then he went to Wyoming. His quarterback coach at Wyoming hadn't ever coached at the FBS level before. Anthony Richardson, you can say, well, he had high-level SEC coaching and his offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, coached NFL guys. But Anthony Richardson didn't get to take advantage of tons of that. I think that's your hope, is you hope that there's some similarity there and not getting a lot of coaching. But now that Anthony Richardson's had 5 years of high-level coaches, I'm not so sure.